Come on. Oh. Hey, Connie. Hey, K-Dot. How are you guys doing? Hey, from Maryland. You're not too far from where I am. Hey, Ivory. How are you? That's good. I'm feeling better from that last live chat. Oh, yeah, I know my throat was all over the place. Hey, Andrea, Mika, C. Brown, Lucia. Less confused now. Okay. Marilyn, Eva, Lisa. All right. Hey, from St. Louis. Never been there. Would like to. So, I think there are certain terms that we hear a lot of time in a narcissistic community, and then there's other terms that we don't really hear that much of. And I want to shine. Thanks, Mika. I got a blowout a few days ago. I had it in a ponytail, but I just felt like my edges looked so dry. I was like, you know what? And I didn't want to do the edge control. I was like, I'll just let the ponytail out. Oh, well. Just calm this on down. But yeah, there are terms that we don't quite hear a lot that I want us to become familiar with. Hey, 41 Big Vents, and make sure everybody's hitting that like button when you're coming in through the live chat, okay? Show some love, all right? So we hear about the flying monkeys, most of us anyway. Thanks, Cheryl. I've been wearing a lot of protective styles, so, every now and then I let her out to breathe, but it's going to go back in to a protective style because I'm trying to get maybe 5 more inches. Oh, thank you. So yeah, guys, we always hear about terms like the flying monkey. We hear that all the time, but we don't really hear this term called mule. And honestly, the new supply really is the narcissist mule. And if we think about what a mule really does, like a horse, a mule, the girls keep taking me off topic here. Tanya says, putting my protective style in now, and as I'm watching you. Yes, that is the trick to growing your hair out. Because black girls can have long hair too. Black girls have edges too, okay? It's just, we have to do the right things. There's nothing wrong with wearing the weaves, but always take care of your real hair underneath, okay? I'm very big on that. I don't do the creamy crack, which is the hair perms. I put only natural products, sulfate free, co-wash all day long, leave-in conditioners. I treat my hair really good and it treats me good, okay? And I definitely don't let anybody cut my hair. Just off topic real quick, I'm telling you, I cried about a year ago. I had protective hairstyles for about 8 months. So you can imagine if your hair grows an inch a month, how much length I had. I went to this shop that I had been very familiar with, but I never let them cut my hair. And I really think they was hating on me and they cut all my new growth off. I didn't cry in the shop in front of them because, I wasn't going to let them have that. But I raised some hell. But then I came home and I cried. I sure did. I was like, oh, because the sacrifices we do when we put in them, I don't want to call them ugly plaits, but when I'm hiding my real hair to get to my goal and I'm having that delayed gratification, now I done paid my dues and I'm ready for my blowout and somebody chop it all off. I learned a hard lesson that day. What? It's only one person I let cut my hair at this point. And everybody else, it's a real quick, sharp, fast no. Never going to experience that again. It was like all those months went down the drain. I was furious. TJ Jacket said, you helped me a lot more than you'll ever know. You're welcome. Look, after everything that I've gone through, I just, and which has been much. Trust me, I can't sit here and make over 500 videos and talk about all these different angles. You're talking to somebody who has been there and done that, and I felt it on a really high level. I got crushed, abused in every way that you could think of. So, me sitting here in my strength today, it definitely came out of a price. I went through a price to get here, but I needed to. I needed to go through that for my own personal awakening. And, God told me to have that testimony, and that's why I have this channel, guys, to share, basically emptying out my brain. I really am. I'm at you guys' total dispense, even for the coaching that I offer in private. Like, I'm telling you everything that I know. Because if I could help spare anybody, or at least help somebody get through a rough patch that I understand, like, it's not too much you guys are going to be able to say that I have not felt personally. But even if I take my personal feelings out of it, I've talked to thousands of survivors at this point. So I've seen it all and heard it all. So just been there and done that one way or another. All right. Connie says, I have to tell you something. My narc called my niece today, asking my sister to call her because I told my sister she had to make a choice. It's me or the narc. My sister chose me. So is the narcissist another family member or your ex? K. Dot says, do the narc try to hoover you with messages of hate? Yes. I'm 8 months no contact, and to my surprise, I got a few text messages from a number I don't know. Why? I think it's she mentioned mentioned you by your government. So the person knew your name, and that's what makes you think it was the narcissist. Hold on, I thought I was about to sneeze. Marilyn says the heavy lifting is what the mule does. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, and we're about to get into this mule thing. Connie says, I'm fine myself, still thinking of my narc. Really? But I am stronger. I put all my energy on a new business. I want to show the narc and the new supply that I will be rich. Connie, just show yourself. They're going to see it. Trust me, they're looking. They're looking. But just show yourself, Connie. You don't have anything to prove to them. But just you standing in your strength and going about your business and keeping it moving, that's a testimony against them. Okay? Hey, Tracy. Cheryl says, hey, could you do a video on a Jezebel spirit? It's a connection to narcissism. I have, Cheryl. I have done at least one very specific video about the Jezebel spirit. Maybe I'll do something else, but I have addressed it if you go on my playlist. All right? Connie says, I just love you. I admire that you are strong and smart. You go, girl. Thank you. Andrea says, watch how a narc treats their car. They run like a right. They treat a car better than a person. TJ Jacket says, so glad that you share your knowledge. Yeah. Hey, Gay Stud. Hey, from Arizona, the Vision Exchange, Juicy Jude. 41 Big Vince says, my narc just wants to give up. What do I do? My narc just give up. What do I do? I've blocked. Oh, your narc just won't give up. Okay. You've blocked everything on social media. Now she uses your son's phone. Do you guys have a child together? Rachel says, hey. Tracy says, I just want to hug you. Thank you for being a strong warrior and a role model to all of us. Oh, you're welcome. Don't put me on the throne, though, guys. Definitely don't do that. Ivory says, my narc, oh, the thing just skipped. My narc definitely treats the car better, yeah. Jesse says, hey, love, thank you for sharing your beautiful knowledge. God bless you and your family. You as well. All right. Karen says, I'm rather grateful for my narc because he exposed my narcissistic family members and I'm planning my escape. I'm so happy that I can't help his new supply. I'm so sorry that I can't help his new supply and her daughter. Yeah, but there's another way to look at that situation. I mean, most people on the platforms adamantly agree that not to try to warn the new supply about anything because they're usually in the midst of being love bombed. And you know how it was when you were being love bombed by the narcissist. You kind of felt like they were the good guy at that point, and that's who the person that you knew. So usually, you're already primed as well to know they're planting seeds about their crazy exes. And, a lot of times when we go to we go to try to inform them, they're completely loyal to that narcissist 99.9. As a matter of fact, I have yet to see that work out for somebody. I've yet to see it work out, so I don't recommend it. I mean, just understand how the universe works. The narcissist needed to cross your path so that you could get your lessons. That new supply has to get her lessons, his or her. Because, of course, it could go both ways here. So, if anything, see that new supply as being at square one. You've graduated, you've paid your dues, It's just when survivors are jealous and feeling like they're losing something. That's the part. But I need you guys to see where perception is going to help you guys, basically. And I say this in a lot of my videos. If you can learn how to shift your perception, not lie to yourself. It's not lying to yourself. It's just another angle to focus on in a situation. And, that can alleviate some of the other feelings that you're having, such as jealousy and bitterness and feeling like you've lost something with the narcissist. I mean, if you know what you just experienced with that person, you know what you just experienced with them, and they're with someone else, what is there really to be jealous of? Think about that. If we get out, because you're in your emotions, that's what it is during that time. You're in your emotions and not your logic. But, that new supply, and we're going to say new in quotes, is the new primary source or whatever. Probably been in the background anyway, but they're a mule one way or another. And unfortunately, at one point, we were a mule for the narc. It's hard to say that. We were the former mule. But now they're the mule. The mule makes excuses. That's why I tell you guys not to intercept it. They have to learn their way. They may be more stubborn than you. They may have to learn through a whole lot more cycles. Who knows? They could be a narcissist themselves. So either way, they're being a mule. They're making excuses for the narcissist. They could do no wrong. They're coddling that person. They're covering for that person. They're the flying monkey on the highest degree. They're the narcissist fixer. The primary source. They're being a mule at that point. A mule. The narcissist is riding on their backs. That's nothing to be jealous of. It's nothing to be jealous of. Hey, M. Mitch. Hey, Cheryl. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. 41 Big Vince says that, the person who's using the son's phone, they're co-parenting. Yeah. Well, parallel parenting. Yeah. Well, you know, that's small things to a giant, Big Vince. The good news is your son is 15. So, you know, it won't be too long before he's 18, you know, and then it could really lower the amount of interaction that you'll have to have with her. So you don't have that much longer. You already know how they move. So you got to expect her to do narky things. But I was just telling somebody this today. The best defense is offense. You know, having that forethought, you know, having that information and preparing ahead of time. You know, I already knew you were going to do this and already knowing how you're going to respond and react. So no one's like catching you off guard, basically. But Tanya says, what is it when the narc does not want to come back? Because I asked him to see what he would say, but he keeps hoovering me with calls and wanting to come over. Why don't he just leave me alone? What is it when the narc does not want to come back? Because I asked him to see what he would say. He doesn't want to come back, but he keeps calling you and wanting to come over. I mean, it sounds like he's still not done playing with your time, minimally. He still wants to play with your time minimally. No, they don't care. Connie says, why do they still try to reach out? Because they want to start another cycle of abuse. What you guys don't understand is, you know, narcissists can be lazy. You know, they like to recycle supply. So even if it's been months, they gave you time to hopefully come off your feelings, forget all the disrespect that they had. And now they're hoping that they can sensationalize the love bomb that you had before, trick you into thinking that you're missing something and that it could be better this time. Bam, start another cycle of abuse with you. It's easy to recycle someone else than to start from scratch most of the time for the narcissist. So, C. Brown says, my narc, soon-to-be ex-husband, is living his best fake life under my nose, move right under the corner from me, and parading the mule around. Only a month after I had him removed from the marital home. So you guys are going through a divorce? Soon-to-be ex-husband. Girl, I would not even care about that. I would just be focused on making sure the divorce proceedings went fair. You know, whoever else is getting your leftovers, you know, because that's what it is. That's how you got to look at that. So let him live his best fake life a few centimeters from the home he got kicked out of. Like, you know, he's losing at that point. He's losing. So Rachel says, going on a year and still recovering. Yeah, my last one, or my worst exposure and experience, took me about 18 months, honestly, of some real deep soul searching. Tracy says, I'm grateful to God and leading me to you and others that have helped me find myself again. Yeah, thank God. K. Dot says, I just can't understand why a person would come at you bitter after months, especially when they cause this shit. Come at you bitter because they're bitter. You know, narcissists project themselves. You know, they can't give what they don't have. And that's why they can only love bomb you for a certain amount of time, because they're not truly happy people. You know, they're very unhappy. So they came at you bitter because they're bitter. When the narcissist comes at you bitter, you won. Trust me. They're in their feelings. They lost their supply. Their life has not gotten better. They haven't found someone better. So you won at that point. So when they come at you bitter, you should be like laughing. It's a great sign to let you know that you won. On some petty level, you won. But on a greater level, on a karmic universal level, it didn't work out. They're reaping what they're sowing on some level. So they're bitter and upset about that, okay? Andrea says, exactly, nothing to be jealous of. 12 years of hell marriage. He's all yours. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're the mule rather than the muse. hmm Karen says, thank you very much for your help. You're welcome. Hey, Diva, you're not late. Dang, it's been 20 minutes already. Guess you are a little late then. Cheryl says, what I'm learning from my healing process is that the trauma bonding and the soul ties is what have us survivors so hooked. Absolutely. So if you guys go back and watch the videos that I made on that, which have been many, but I made scientific videos about the trauma bond, and about breaking old patterns and how long they take. Because you know how they used to say, oh, create any new habit in 3 weeks. Scientists have studied it, and it's actually a lot longer than that, which is why 3 weeks after you went no contact, you're still craving that toxicity. Okay. But in my video, I encourage you guys to step into your logic and to know that, yeah, your flesh is basically trying to override your spirit at the time. And yes, your brain, has created a very toxic pathway in response to that relationship. And every time they were love bombing you, you were releasing a dopamine hormone that made things feel better than it really was or ever will be. Okay. So basically, getting survivors to understand that it's going to take at least 45 days, at least, before you start feeling some relief from that. But I kind of compared it to an alcoholic or a drug addict. You guys have to look at it that way. You're going to go through withdrawal just like anyone else healing from an addiction, because that's what you are right now. You're addicted to that relationship. So, of course, if you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, you know the drugs and the alcohol are bad for you. But the high that you feel when you're in a process of taking it, it can make you confused, at that point. And it's very misleading. And then you come off of that high, which in this case would be then the devalue and the discard, you're back to reality again, And then sometimes being in reality hurts so much that we kind of take that love bomb. We're not in our strength strong enough to feel that burn, because you're going to feel a burn. You're going to go through a purge. I call it a purge. When you go through that withdrawal off of that trauma bond and the soul tie. So you have to be willing to feel that. And nobody gets a pass. We all have to feel it, all right? We all have to feel it. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, I made a lot of videos on the narcissist and the new supply. So I highly recommend that you guys watch those videos. Once this one uploads, I'll try to tag some of them. I might only be able to tag 2. I'll see if I created a playlist. If I didn't, but I think I did. If I didn't, I'll create a playlist and then just tag it at the end here or put it in the description. So I highly recommend that you guys watch those videos as well. But yeah, you're not missing out on anything. It really, it's a phase. Everyone's going through it a little bit. But honestly, if I think back in my situation, I never was jealous of the new supply. I didn't have that aspect. If anything, I felt some kind of way as far as I was like, she's enabling abuse. She was like, I just seen her as an enabler. I wasn't jealous of her or bitter because I discarded the narcissist at that point. I didn't want to be with that person for a whole bunch of reasons. So I wasn't jealous. It just because she was an older woman and her emotional maturity was so small. I was like, this woman is old enough to be me and his mother, and she's in so much of the dark. It was very it was like a shake my head moment. All I could do was really shake my head at her ignorance. I was like, you're enabling this person to be super reckless, which makes you reckless as well. They're like an accomplice. They're an accomplice to a crime, if you will. And it would be so great if the awareness in narcissistic abuse rose to where they weren't able to have these accomplices, because because that's how I felt. Like she was the getaway driver. I felt like that. I really felt like that. And it made me, it was just, really sad. It was really sad to see a woman so lost in the darkness and enabling. She was a mule. He rode on her back. But trust me, her back broke eventually. Her back broke. And when it did, it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't like, aha, aha. It wasn't like that for me. It was just, to me, it was the yin with the yang. I felt like she's got to feel her burn and go through her purge too. And she had to learn the hard way. It was crazy. Ivory said the other day he came into her house with his things and claims he isn't with the new girl. I told her not to allow him to stay, but she doesn't listen. Yeah. Don't give him any advice. Don't, because they have the trauma bond as well. Okay. Pamela says, I took your advice and went outside my home while my ex was across and went about business. I was afraid at first. I took some deep breaths and feel stronger for facing the situation. Yeah. I mean, why should you be a hostage, Pamela? You should not be a hostage. Yes, Andrea, you won. Anybody that's removed from the situation, you've won. And the next person that they're with, that just means that person has to learn their lessons now. Hopefully they will. But that's not your business, You have other business to move on and graduate to. So that's what that is. And Mitch says, at this point, I'm not surprised at what they would do. And you shouldn't be. No survivor should be putting anything past a narcissist. That's how they blindside you to begin with. Putting too much trust. Oh, they're not going to do this. Oh, they would never do that. That's not how you go about life. And if you've watched my Trust 1 and 2 videos, if you had an issue with over trusting people, then you definitely need to watch that video, okay? Rosina said, I agree. They have nothing but an illusion. Actions show how they are and how they feel about you and your job. Just pay attention. Yes. And they're getting the same thing, guys. They're getting the same things. Somehow, survivors sometimes think, and maybe, that's just through that healing phase. One of the phases when your emotions may be still trying to catch up with your logic. You're thinking that that next woman is getting something different, and she's not. Maybe it could be a little bit of a delay. Maybe her love bomb period lasted a week longer than yours. Maybe she's putting on a stronger face than you or he. But they're getting it the same way. Trust me. The narcissist wants to find someone that was willing to do what you were used to doing or more. That's what they want. So trust me. They're not getting with people that are challenging them. They're not getting with people that's going to try to make them change. They want somebody that's going to fall in line, guys. That's how you know they're getting the same thing or worse. They're getting the same thing or worse. Okay, they could be even more submissive. They could have even more shadow work, which means they're being an even bigger mule, if you will, and which means their back is going to get broken that much worse. It's going to be that much harder of a fall on their face, and an even bigger lesson, bigger losses. This is what we're talking about. More time, a whole lot of things, guys. So nothing to be jealous of, nothing to be bitter about. We have to have a bigger picture view of things. Now that we're graduating, guys, now that our emotional maturity is getting bigger, we have to stop looking at things on a small scale. All right? And look at things on a bigger scale. We can't just have tunnel vision and be one-dimensional in the way that we look at, things that are happening around us. if we look through a deeper lens here, we'll see that, another person has to start a cycle, and they're going to get an opportunity to either be uplifted or not. Now, you remove yourself from the circus, you remove yourself out of that cycle so that they're not trying to attack you, so that the narcissist isn't triangulating you because you still in your feelings and you're still looking at things one dimensionally. Or you're still looking at things out of your flesh. All right. When we get into our mature mind and we have that emotional maturity, we're going to be able to take a step back and see where they deserve each other in that moment. Because guess what? They're both given opportunities. The narcissist is getting the most opportunities to change, but they're the least likely to change because of the way that that dysfunction is set up, the way that that illness operates. But the people that they're coming into contact with, they can change. How long will it take them? That's not for you to be calculating. You have yourself to worry about, guys. But way too many people are still devastated and in their feelings about who that narcissist is with now. Okay? Like, and that's a part of the sickness. You got to know that's your toxicity. Seashell says, you're the best, Lakia. Why is it once you've experienced narcissistic abuse, you become so aware of it and other dynamics is frightening? How do you know you're not overly sensitive? Well, overly sensitive is operating out of your emotions. That's how you know. So is it logical? Does it make sense? That's how you're going to know if you're being sensitive about something. You're in your emotions. All right. But yeah, it definitely wakes you up, and you'll never see the world differently, but it was supposed to. There's no turning back, though. That's the thing. And, that's a part of becoming enlightened. That's enlightenment, guys. And it's hard. It can be challenging. That's why you really have to learn how to deal with your emotions. Because the smarter you become, the more you know that you don't know, number one. So the smarter you become, the dumber you realize you are. That's number one. But number two, you see how big the world is. And then you see how big the galaxy is. Like you're really abstract what you're thinking at that point. And, it takes you, and you start just viewing life from a different lens. And then you're going to have to learn how to manage your emotions on another end, because every day there's someone that's dying of thirst. There's a child somewhere that doesn't have clean water. While I'm over here in the Western civilization with lots of clean water. So, when your mind, I don't really watch the news. Lakia doesn't watch the news, guys. I don't. I am a sensitive person. I'm very tough on one end and I'm very sensitive on another end. But I realize that, a whole bunch of things about the news, it is, trying to wire people, number one, but it's full of a lot of negative stories, number two. But, sometimes I don't want to hear those things, honestly, because I know how I am. I know how I am. Just like before I go to bed, I like it to be on a positive note. If I've interacted or heard something negative, I got to replace it with something positive. I don't want that energy. I understand energy, guys. And I don't want that to be my last energy for the night. I have to do something to shift it back. I need to be close to the light, honestly. But, you pay a price for getting that awareness, but there's no turning back once you do. You just learn how to manage it. And, for the empaths out there, just learning how not to be exploited for it. That's really the main thing. You're finally learning how to not be exploited for caring, for being tender-hearted. Okay? And I've made videos on that, guys. They really don't care about others, Angela. And you're welcome, Rosina. Oh, much love to you too, Pamela. Yeah. The thing is, I can't heal your heart, but I can help guide you. It's really the work that you guys are doing. If you kind of get led to the water and then you drink from it. But you have to make the decision to drink and, do that for yourself. So you have to take accountability for that. Tanya says, after the narc, I'm so afraid to date and I trust no one. Yeah, I've made at least one video about that, Tanya, but I understand you. And that happens. After 18 months of being to myself, I thought, that it was going to make me super ready to date, because I was ready. After that 18 months of nothing, okay, I was ready to socialize, because I went through a phase where I really didn't want to be bothered with people. I hated men for a moment. I did, because I had so many consistent situations that was abusive. So it really made me hate men. And then it made me retreat from people. I had major trust issues for a while. But I worked through all of that, guys. And then I just, I got into my logic about it, and I understood everything by the end, of course. And, there came a day where I did want to socialize and I was ready to date again. And I'm telling you, those first few relationships, I was very hyper vigilant. So no matter how much time you take off the market to do your personal healing, which is good, that's still the most important aspect of your healing is, working on your inner child, okay? Working on that person. Now, once you do that, it is going to be a little nerve-wracking, that first 1, 2, or 3 people that you date. And you may be overly hypervigilant with them. You may be a little over the top. Expect it. It's okay. You might fuck it up. They might be patient with you, and they might not, But expect that. And it's like riding a bike again. But once you start learning how to trust yourself a little more in that aspect, because when you're taking that time off to work on yourself, is not the same as working on learning how to re-engage with others again. What you're working on is getting to know yourself for once, connecting with yourself. That's a whole separate thing. So now you're going to a phase where you're learning how to re-engage with people again and bring them back into your circle. So, you're going to have that. So that's really normal to go through that. But, I started getting a swing of things, and I learned how to be balanced with people, not be over the top, and definitely not be nobody's doormat ever again, honey. So I found my balance, but it took a couple of dates for me to get that, I probably gave 3 people a really hard way to go before I found my sweet spot with it. But everybody will be different. It's to be expected. Oh, well. The universe, look. They're just getting you ready for the right one, if that's the case. If they don't have patience with you, or, if it chases them off, they weren't the one. Oh, well. But take your lessons and you can gauge. You'll know when you overstepped your boundaries, or you were over the top with them, or you came down way too hard, or you made a mountain out of a puddle. You'll know. And, if it's like, if they think you're crazy and they run off of that, oh, well, you were just, like I said, it's just getting you ready for the right person. They weren't the one. Take your lessons. Be like, okay, I'm going to check myself on that. I see I'm still a little hyper vigilant in this area. And just take your lessons. Like, people be making things way too big. And Kat says she doesn't trust anymore. And you shouldn't trust anybody 100%. I made that video on my trust 1 and 2. Why should you be trusting people 100%? There's no perfect people in the world. Until we get a perfect person, then you can't trust them. You got to leave room, And that's what it is for me. I don't trust either. I just don't. I trust God, and I trust myself. And that's how I operate in life. So there isn't anything that anybody could do to me that would never cross my mind. Like, I've at least considered it. Even if I don't foresee it happening or believe that they would do it, I've at least considered it. So that no one can ever blindside me. And because of that, I've already thought about as many angles as possible. So, it is what it is. And because I don't put relationships on a throne, any one person can walk out of my life and it will never devastate me or crush me. I will always, because of my outlook, and that's what I say about changing perceptions. If that person leaves, I will take it as, most people are temporary in your life anyway. I know that fact. All right. They're a lesson, they come for a season. You guys learn things from each other if you do it right. Or at least I'm going to learn my stuff, whether they do or not. And when that chapter is over, it's over. When they're leaving, it just means something else is going to come in. And then I'll be positive minding that it'll be something better. And even if it was a sweet interaction, even if it was a positive thing, and I hated to see the chapter end, but it ran its course. So I've learned how to step out of resistance with letting go. You guys can take that with the new supply. Step out of resistance and let it go. Look, you took your lessons. You got to look at that. You took your lessons. Now they're going to get an opportunity to take their lessons. So that's why a lot of people say I'll pray for that person. I mean, I didn't personally do it. I wasn't that holier than thou that I was praying for that person, but I just stayed out of it. I pretty much stayed out of it. I'm like, oh, hey, it's her turn. I paid my dues. Sherelle says, I was in a relationship with a narcissist for 2.5 years. I just got the understanding, what a narcissist, right? You're just now understanding it. Yeah. Yeah. And Mitch says, I don't care to date. I'm so selfish right now. All my time is for me. And that's fine. It's nothing that, you have to force on yourself. And a lot of times when we're not completely strong in ourselves, we let society dictate, oh, you should be married by this age, or you should be doing da 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 da. No. Everybody isn't called to marriage. Everybody isn't even called to dating. And then we do have our seasons of singleness as well. So, just be in tune with yourself, and you'll know when you have that natural desire or that craving for partnership and companionship. You know, you'll know, and you could just let it be organic. Organic is the best flow. Is when we try to force things, such as trying to force the narcissist to stay with us and force the new supply to see what the narcissist is. Look, they're going to expose themselves one way or another. Either that new supply will be in denial or not. And that's just real talk. But their denial is basically just a symptom of them needing to learn their lessons. You know, and just the fact that they can't see it, because a lot of the stuff is right in front of the new supplies face right away as well. It just shows you how closed their eyes are and how toxic they must be as well. So they're vibrating somewhere, they're vibrating on the same level there. Okay. And they put on those strong faces as well. And I mentioned that in other videos. You don't know. Well, you do know what's going on behind closed door, chances are, because it's what they were doing to you. But, that new supply will be typically good at pretending like that's not the case. And that's why only the happy times are posted on social media. Not too many people like to talk about their problems and hardships on social media. But trust me, everybody has them. And especially with a toxic narcissist is definitely going on. They're just not sharing it publicly. But you can't, what do they say? Believe none of what you see and half of what you hear? Yeah. With a narcissist is more like what? Believe none of what you see. And sometimes 0.01% of what you hear when they tell on themselves out of their sadistic nature. So I'm telling you, yeah, they really are everywhere. And it's just the way that society has been scoping its values, honestly. Everything is me, you know, and that's why look at how it is. They say now, what did they say? Nowadays, the commerce is likes and not even money. People want to get 1,000 likes. They want to get 1,000 likes more than they want $1,000. So, It's basically like an age of attention with all of the internet and the social media, which makes it a very narcissistic environment, if you want to think about it from that angle. Okay. But it also is also very shallow at that point too. Rachel says it's like they conditioned us to get high off of them. Yeah, your brain gets conditioned, the longer it stays in that environment. That's why, kids usually they're products of their environment, It's all the same thing. I'm telling you, if you want to fare well in this life, study psychology. Study psychology. Tanya says, yeah, it took me almost a year. Worst hell ever. I cried daily for months, lost 30 pounds. Thank God I'm healed and I have my happiness back. Yeah. Yeah, that's the purge. hmm And for the rest of you, it's common to have panic attacks, anxiety attacks, yeah, crying in the middle of the night and just feeling brokenhearted, stress. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. And God bless all of us for pulling through that. It's just a testimony to our strength. It does make us warriors at that point because, that was a real spiritual attack right there. That darkness wanted to take your light away. And some people don't make it. Some people commit suicide or, they snap mentally. So, and let's pray for them. You know, let's pray for them. Like I said, I've heard and seen it all. And, there's some people who don't pull through that stuff. And I've made videos for that. Someone could be right now in a mental institution. And, a lot of dark things happen, you know. Shaped in Beauty says, I stood my ground to him this morning and decided not to take any more abuse. He told me that I was effed up and will always be, of course. He went on to tell me that he would rather be with someone that loves him. Right, right. Because we know what love is to a narcissist. You just being the sacrificial lamb and having their way 100% of the time. Yeah. Tracy says, yes, 37 years thinking I was the problem. And Mitch said, meanwhile, we were male and female bashing, not realizing this phenomenon called narcissism. Diva R says, his new supply is his old supply. He can't get anyone else, so he uses his ex wife. Yeah. Yeah, they recycle. Tanya Robinson says, a part of me was grateful to the new supply because it made him leave me alone. Yes. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Whew. Because you know how it is when they don't find somebody else. They will try to bug you if they can. Cheryl says, the withdrawal is very painful, but after you get past that feeling, the healing really started. I listened to a lot of gospel music and motivational videos to help me get through the withdrawal process. Yeah. Yeah. And that's light. You were putting positivity, in your circumference. So that was a smart move, Cheryl. That was a smart move. Yep. G. Marie says hers leached off an older woman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. See, those narcissists, and I talked about this in another video, those male narcissists are more in touch with their feminine side and they want to be took care of. That's what that is. And Simretti, that's right, a great day to be living. I'm glad to be feeling better. I'm telling you, over the last 2 weeks, I had a little bug and I really got over the hump now. So that's really good. Cheryl says no contact is the only remedy, no relapse. Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who aren't parallel parenting, of course. Jim Marie says she's an older divorce and he moved 1,000 miles to live in her home. Right. Yeah. Yep. To be taken care of. Shaped in Beauty says, I left him years and I feel so silly. I allowed him back in my life. It just hurts. But this time around, he's not allowed in my life. My time, I can't get back. Right. And that's something that survivors have to realize and consider when they're choosing their toxicity over their livelihood. And when I say livelihood, your life source. Okay. And it doesn't get better every time you take them back. The love bombs get shorter, the mask drops faster. So it's really, Andrea says, when you love yourself more, keyword, you don't care anymore. Take your power in life back. And then take those lessons and keep it moving. I'm going to add that a little bit there. But yes, when you love yourself more is the key word. All right, Rachel, enjoy that. It's a beautiful day out here where I am. So it's a great day to do stuff like that. Danielle Martinez says, it took me 16 years to realize who he was. As I was 18 and he was 29. He took my youth. His mask fell off and I couldn't believe it. I am happy to be narc 2 years free. Yeah. But you know what? You still have a lot of life ahead of you, and there's a lot of old fools, and you won't be one of them, okay? And besides that, 40 isn't like 40 the new 30. People are aging so well nowadays. And I don't know too many people who didn't have to learn a lot of hard lessons through their 20s. So don't be hard on yourself, all right? Diva R says, I don't care which poor soul the narc is with as long as it isn't me, right? Look, like I said, it's their turn. It's their opportunity to grow or not. All right. Deanna says there is a great life after the narc. You may not feel like, but there truly is. Yeah, it is. It is. It's very freeing. I mean, once you actually get through that purge, it's very freeing, guys. T. Johnson says, yes, I'm very much so wondering who the new supply is and if they are happy, if he will change for her. He won't change for her. That's the classic question. Will they change for the next person? Absolutely not. They won't. You know, in the love bomb phase, the narcissist will be whatever that new supply needs them to be. So those could be the ways that the narcissists change. But are they changing their fundamental patterns? No. No. Are they still an abusive personality? Yes. Are they still wearing a mask for the new person? Yes. Is it still going to be love, bomb, devalue, and discard? Yes. So those things aren't changing, guys. They might pretend to be into a sport. They might pretend to be into a business. They might change their physical looks up. I've noticed that. The narc was changing his physical look with each relationship. So probably, to suit that next person. But they weren't changing their mentality. So, that's what I was telling someone the other day who was saying they weren't going to date young men anymore, or men that were younger than them, or look this way and that way. I'm like, nah, what you need to be checking for is the mentality. If the mentality is the same and it's just in a different package, you got the same person. So that's what it is. And a lot of survivors, especially the female ones, are concerned about how the new supply look. Oftentimes you're saying, oh, she don't even look like nothing. And then sometimes you might say, oh, she looks okay or whatever. But I need you guys to understand that it's the mentality that they're connecting with on with the narc. They're connecting with their mentalities. It's something about the new supplies mentality that vibrates with narcissistic abuse in that moment. Whether it's low self esteem, low self worth, things along that line, being codependent, is something about the new supply that's vibrating with the narcissist psychologically. So it has nothing to do with the external. The narcissist is looking for someone who they can control psychologically because they understand if they could get somebody's mind, what do they say? The body will follow. Okay? So that's what you guys have to understand. It's mental, it is very psychological at that point. They really are, Diva R. She says, watching the news depresses me. So many narcs globally causing chaos. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I can agree with that, Diva R. Take at least a year before you start dating post narc. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because oftentimes survivors never even dated themselves, and that's the problem that caused the whole situation. That's right, Diva R. Salam says, I found myself having to learn how to deal with adults again after my ex-narc. Yeah. Yeah. And Mitch says, can you do more videos on the many angles to see them? Yeah, but angles as far as, can you give me like a certain situation that you want to see angles on? Because, that's like very broad. Heather Healy says, how long did it take you to get where you are after the narc? Um, 18 months. 18 months of intense soul searching and therapy. I had 2 therapists, okay? So I did a lot. I did a lot of healing and working on myself and my inner child, okay? So a lot of shadow work during those 18 months. And then, I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm constantly growing. But to get like to that amazing sweet spot, it took me about 18 months. And then everything after that has just been like sprinkles for me. Like the jimmies on the ice cream. Salam says, different conversation. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Salam says, different conversation, different mindsets, and now different disagreements seems to gaslight me. But when I respond with an adult, it's a total different experience. Different conversation, different mindsets, and now different disagreements seem to gaslight you. But when I respond with an adult, it's like a total experience. You mean because you guys definitely have the different mindsets because you've evolved now? You're having different disagreements, but it still feels like it's gaslighting you? But when you respond like an adult, it's a different experience. Yeah, if you get in your logic, because we know that narcissists run off of their emotions, they're negative. They're using, anger and rage. They're using it negatively. But yeah, when you're in your logic, of course they're going to try to gaslight you. But if you stay in your logic, they won't be able to succeed in that. And Mitch says, if you think about, yeah, we were once New Supply. That's what I said. We used to be the Mule. Unfortunately, weren't you exhausted? They really are energy vampires. Like at the end, you're just so exhausted. So exhausted. You have to physically rest. Because, all of that internal turmoil, that psychological turmoil internal turmoil, it, weighs on you physically. And, it's pulling at your energy one way or another, you know. And then if you're having that internal turmoil and you're physically there for the narcissist, running around rescuing them, and maybe you were the wife or the girlfriend cooking and cleaning all the time, taking care of this and that. So you're just catching it on every angle at that point. Jeff Hardy said, my wife narcissist cheated after 15 years of marriage. And then I find that she had a relationship for the last 2 years of our marriage. And she just recently filed child support on me because I caught her. Right, right. So she's making her exit strategy at this point, and she's trying to secure child support minimally. That's all she's doing at that point. She's, setting out her exit strategy. But that's what they do. They stay in their marriage long enough, and then they align themselves for that exit strategy, and they try to take everything that they can. Get a good lawyer. Samredi says, I can now see how I was gaslighted and what the truth really is. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Like when your eyes are really exposed. I know for me, the narcissist didn't even physically look the same in my eyes. Like when I looked at them through my clear vision, with everything in consideration, they didn't even look the same. It just let me know how broken and how blinded I was at the time. And I was telling someone in a coaching session that a lot of times we're blinded by our own desires in the beginning and for quite some time in a relationship. Our own desires, we get blinded by them and we can't see their true desires at that point. And that's why it's great to not be hasty for anything. And they have that in the Bible. Basically, don't be desperate for nothing, because then it starts to close your eyes. You're not seeing things clearly because our own perception is getting in the way. Our own desires are getting in the way of being able to see things clearly. But if I could stay objective and not be hasty for things, then, I'm going to be able to see with a lot more clarity anyway. It's going to increase my odds of being able to see things better. Yeah, it is. Guys, I think men, I talk a lot on it to the females because I'm a female, but, like Jeff Hardy here, I've heard some horrible, horrible stories with men, all types of ramifications, and, the woman milking the system and exploiting the system that typically caters to women. It does. Getting them arrested, getting bogus charges, felonies, like narcissistic women to me. And the men are bad, but to me, I feel like the women are on another level because you know how vindictive a woman can be. And now imagine if she's narcissistic. To me, and I've experienced a female narcissist, and she was colder than any man narcissist that I encountered. And I encountered some bad narcissistic men as well, but that woman, she could have been a ringleader. Like, so my heart does go out to the men that have experienced. And that's really a rough situation. It's so rough. Katrina says, I would still be stupid to the facts that there are people out there trying to hurt you. Thank you for enlightening me as to what you look for when approached by a man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if you're giving it the benefit of the doubt, you're setting yourself up right there. And there's nobody that has experienced narcissistic abuse that should be naive like that anymore. Okay. Yes, unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but you know, the best uh, defense is offense. That means you're arming yourself with this information now. You're forewarned. Well, you've already experienced some of that dark energy, so you know it's out there. But now, you shouldn't be the one going through that purge ever again. You shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. Katrina says they are so addictive individuals. You know you should leave, but you stay because you think he is your soulmate. No, no. When you talk like that, Katrina, it lets me know that you're way too close to the trauma bond and the soul tie. The healthier your mind gets, they're not addictive. For you to be addicted, that means you're still engulfed in your toxicity, Katrina. You need to know that. Because there's nothing addictive about a narcissist to me and my healthy mind and my healthy perception. Absolutely nothing addictive about it. Now, I know the psychological entrapments. I understand that. Those bonds that have to be broken. But in my healthy mind, there's nothing addictive. There's nothing for me to never talk to any of those previous narcs or any of the future ones trying to come my way. There's nothing for me to detach if I should find, oh, this person is, pump the brakes, cut the tie, exiting left stage. Like, it's very easy for me to cut that off right away. It's not going to be hard once you get to a certain part of your healing. And once your mind is reprogrammed as well. Because, let's talk about soulmates, all right? A soulmate isn't necessarily someone that's meant to be with you forever. That doesn't mean a soulmate could be someone that comes into your life and turns it upside down for a season. And then you guys got the lessons and that was it. A soulmate doesn't mean forever. And a soulmate is not just one person either. It's not just this one person out of billions of people in the world, that I have this soulmate contract with, that I'm going to cross paths with this one person and only them forever. No, that's not how that works. Okay? So, no. And also, actually, some people confuse soulmate with karmic relationships as well. So, and those are certainly not forever relationships. It's just, on a lowest scale, it's just bumping into people that you need to learn lessons from. Not who you need to stay with forever. Not who you need to try to lift up with you. All right? It's just for you to learn your lessons and keep it moving. That's really on a simplest scale. And just because you invested a lot of time doesn't mean you have to keep giving it more. Because that's what it sounds like, Katrina. As a matter of fact, you need to be looking at it the opposite way. Because I invested so much time, why would I want to give it more time that I can't get back? Because I already can't get back that time. So it's because you invested all that time. See, people think of it the opposite way. It's because I put all this time in it, it made it hard for me to leave because I gave it that much time. It's really the opposite. It's because you already done gave it so much time and it kept failing, right? So that's when we step into our logic. Our emotion says the other way. Emotions say, oh, I gave it so much time, I should try some more. Logic said, because I gave it so much time, it needs to stop at this point. Like, I've given it more than enough time. So you start having that perception, that will help you pull away here. And you're only keeping yourself from, a healthy relationship But you staying in it would indicate that you're not ready for a healthy relationship yet because you're staying in it. There's still some toxicity in you that you have not got rid of enough to be able to make a shift, to at least begin to make the shift. Nobody's 100% healthy when they leave the narcissist, but they've shifted enough. The scales have went over enough to where they're able to make the shift. So until you get to that, Katrina, you're still going to be in that type of mind frame. But hopefully, keep staying on the channel and watching these videos. Meet me over in the support group. Maybe even get yourself some coaching here to start helping yourself get to that place, Because I know no matter what anybody tells anyone, a person is ready when they're ready. That's why some people had to take 15 years, 20 years, unfortunately, but that was their journey and that was their time frame. Some of us was only in that relationship for a few months, and that was enough right there. So everyone has their own journey, and I know it's not going to be a second faster just because Coach Lakia says it. Because if you're not really ready to receive that information, I could talk to you until I'm dry in the face. It's not going to penetrate you the way that it needs to until you're really out of enough resistance to receive it. And I'm fully aware of that. Okay? Diva R says, I was losing hair with the ex-narc, no sleep, crying, losing a ton of weight, nightmares, sleep paralysis, anxiety, inability to eat. Yeah. Nothing good. Nothing good. Shaped in Beauty says, I blocked him from everything, decided to take care of myself. Starting today, yeah, he does not deserve my time nor energy. Good for you. Good for you. Make sure you're filling the voids because you're extremely fresh now and there's no contact. All right? Fill the voids. Stay in the community. There's a big community now for this. Well, it's not gigantic, but there's enough resources here. Make sure you stay engulfed. All right? And start filling the voids. Replace one behavior with another. Replace one toxic thought with a healthy one. You got to start replacing. Filling voids. That's how you help get through. Angela Collins says, I was with him for 2 years and I'm still in filled but I'm getting better. I know I feel much better now that he's out of my life. I'm just taking one day at a time. Okay. I think you're saying that maybe you still have some residual feelings that you're working your way out of. And guys, it takes time for your emotions to catch up with your logic. And that's okay because we're human. But just let your logic lead at that point. If you let your logic lead, that's okay because the logic is ultimately making the decisions, right? That's the good part because even if my emotions are feeling this way, my logic is making the decisions. All right. I could have a business and say, oh, I don't want to do any work today. And my logic will step in and say, oh, no. We have a schedule. We have commitments. We have deadlines. So my logic is stepping in. So even though I don't feel like doing anything, my logic is taking over and I'm doing things. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you have to act on it. Doesn't make it right. We have to really learn how to differentiate those things because what we learned in that relationship is we ran real far with our feelings. We made a lot of decisions out of our emotions, and that comes back to bite us in the butt every time. So this is all a part of emotional maturity. All right. We're always going to have feelings as humans for those of us who don't have that issue with empathy, right? But feeling something and acting on a feeling are two different things. Feeling something and making decisions off of it are two different things. We can have self-control. That's what we're going to have to start exercising, having that self-control and being in our logic. Coach Rochi. Oh, sorry. Coach Rocky, right? Says you have to nurture yourself. Spirit and soul, we will survive. Absolutely. Jeff Hardy says, "Oh my God, I want to." Okay, she went. He went through some toxic stuff with the narcissistic wife, and he kept a rash and breathing problems. Ever since the split, I'm in the best shape of my life. Heads up to everybody. Yeah. hmm You know, if any of you watch Discovery Health, look on the darker side. Yeah, narcissists can be doing stuff to you. You never know. If she knew that your skin was, she could be washing your clothes with stuff that you know that you're allergic to, or feeding you stuff that you shouldn't be having. It's really like being sleeping with the enemy, like for real, in the real world, sleeping with an enemy. And that's why, a lot of survivors have a hard time when it comes time to divorce this person because, spiritually, when you marry someone to become one, you know, but your spirit, they didn't really enmesh with you. They didn't really enmesh with you. They aren't, the husband or the wife that God really ordained. And that's why the marriage went the way that it was. That's why you were so unhappy and it wasn't fruitful. But people have a hard time because they don't want that divorce on their belt. But you're divorced one way or another because you were never really married. You're not really together. You're not really a team anyway. It's not really your partner. It's not a partnership with a narcissist ever. Yes, Katrina says no more love bombing once you get to know who they are. Yeah, or it won't last because you'll see that they won't be able to consistently hold that up if it's someone new. And no more whirlwind relationships. How about that? I don't recommend that for any survivors. No more whirlwind relationships. They want you. That's what they wanted, for you to jump into things. They wanted that. And then by the time you realize what it is, you're not knee deep, you're neck deep, okay? So that is a tactic. Let's love bomb them and get them to move too fast. Paul says they disrespect the gift that made them like you. Now I realize that they dislike co-stars in their movie. Yeah. Yeah, they don't want any other stars of any kind. It's all about them forevermore in their head, you know. But the good news is we don't have to accept that or be a part of it. Mm, yeah. Yeah, that final discard can be like a really horrible memory image. That's for sure. But thank God it's over, right? Heather Hilly says, I turned 40 the week he started ghosting me. Oh, that should have been a birthday surprise, a good birthday gift. But I'm sure, the trauma bond and that soul tie made you feel otherwise in the moment. But in hindsight, he did you a favor. You need to bring in another year with you because that was the end of it. Good. You have to see, where you're being spared when they're ghosting you. You're getting an opportunity to close the chapter. You are getting an opportunity to close the chapter. Mm-hmm. Shaped in Beauty says she's decided to travel for the summer. I decided to take time for themselves and raise children, and that they're 40 and look half their age. Okay. I know that I'm beautiful and it's life outside of the narc. Yeah, you are. Trust me. The narcs don't want losers. That's what you guys don't understand. And I think I made videos letting you guys know that you were the prize. They didn't want you for nothing. You had something to offer that they couldn't do themselves and that they found valuable. Now is the mind F, yes, that tried to make you feel that other way, you know. But that's the thing. Most survivors didn't know their worth. They didn't know their value before that relationship. But the narcissist sees your value and they exploit you for not knowing it yourself. That's what you guys got to understand ultimately. The narcissist sees all the beauty in you. They see your worth and they end up exploiting you for it because you don't see it. Okay? Due to a lot of factors, but typically that low self esteem. It may be childhood abuse, perhaps. You know, there are some things that primed you to have that wrong perception. And that's why you hear me say that all the time on the channel. If we reprogram those toxic perceptions, it's going to reprogram your subconscious, which is controlling your behaviors. So it starts in the mind, in the way that you're looking at things, guys. But that's ultimately all the narcissist is doing. So while you're feeling worthless because they went on to the next, you should actually be feeling good because you got too strong. They weren't able to exploit you for that anymore. So they have to move on to a vessel that is weak enough to be exploited now. And that's all it is. There's nothing to feel upset about. You should feel proud, like, wow, I got them to leave me. Or they decided to walk away because they weren't able to continue to manipulate me. That's a win. That's a win. But because we're looking at it through the wrong perceptions, out of our toxicity, we're looking at it still as a real relationship. We're thinking we've lost a real connection. We're thinking about the things that we've invested, not realizing that all we really invested in that time was getting us to the opportunity to learn these lessons. That's what we were really invested in. Our ability to learn a lesson. All right, we're not gaining a relationship with the narc. We're gaining a relationship with ourself. All right, and you're going to go through that purge. Yep. They're pretty textbook, G. Marie. And Jeff Hardy says, narc free for 15 months and really feeling truly free. Yeah. Yeah, Mika says they'll just do more with the new person because they have needs. Yeah, it's whatever, they say the narcissist mirrors you. So, the funny thing is the narcissist is being controlled a lot. For them to have to wear these masks to get this supply from these people, they're being controlled constantly. But they think they're in control and they're actually not. Other people are controlling them because they have to keep morphing they feel like they have to keep morphing to get their needs met. All right. Misty Lee says, how do I keep up no contact? Why would I even want to talk to him? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but I've made a lot of videos, Misty, on keeping no contact. But the number one tip that I'll give you is to learn how to fill the void. All right, because if your emotions haven't caught up with your logic and you logically know, hey, this person is wrong for me, this person is bad for me, but I still feel an urge. Why? A lot of times because we didn't get closure from them. But I teach on this channel how you can get closure from yourself because we know what we need to know, Misty. You may have a lot of unresolved feelings and questions around your experience with that narcissist, and that might make you feel drawn to break that no contact, along with having the trauma bond and the soul tie that has been in existence longer than your no contact. You see what I'm saying? So it's like trying to give up the drugs and the alcohol because you're addicted to that toxic relationship. You're going to be craving it because you're used to craving it. That's a comfort zone. Whether it's good for you or not, you're still used to it, and it's a toxic pattern that you're trying to break. So patterns are things that we're used to. So in our logic, you're going to naturally want to gravitate that way. But if you could use your logic of understanding the healing process and knowing it's going to be that tug of war for a little while, you'll learn how to fill the voids. Every time I feel like I'm going to call the narcissist, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to call my best friend instead. I'm going to write about it in my journal. Or you could take advantage of things. I have mobile texting support. If you enter through my Patreon, it's only $150 a month. You could text Coach Lakia instead of texting the narc. Fill the void, or start filling your life up. Make it fulfilling for yourself. If you spent a lot of time with the narcissist doing this and that, you got to start filling those voids with other things so that you're not just sitting there staring at the wall. Then it makes you feel like you're missing everything and you have no life without them. You do. They're not your maker. Okay? So hopefully that helps you. Go find the videos on my channel that help with no contact after this upload. Maybe I can make a note to add those videos in the description. All right, I'm just going to make a note for it. Misty to help you. No contact vids. And I'll add them in the description. Don't they? They really do. I feel like it just jumped around here. But Heather Hilly says, I'm so grateful that there is a name for this and there is a way to be free. Yeah, absolutely, Heather. Okay, there's where I was. I see where I was now. Okay. Owena Jackson. All right, I look forward to hearing from you. T. Johnson says, nobody truly knowing how hard it is getting over a toxic relationship with a narcissist. Sometimes I just want to shut myself off from the world. He love bombed me so well. Oh my gosh, this hurts so bad. And maybe you should. There's nothing wrong with shutting yourself off from the world temporarily, Sometimes we need, that moment to ourselves. And that's okay. And we can heal in private, and that's okay as well. That's okay. Take a little sabbatical from social media, a little sabbatical from being in the scene, and just take some time for yourself. That's a good thing. Everybody needs to do it at least once in life, and this might be your time. And you'll know when you should jump back in there. Right? So much more time and energy, Diva R. She says there's so much time in a day without the narcs. Yes. Sucking you dry, putting their demands on you. Oh, Lord. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, wow. Lisa says, I realized my last therapist is one. She discarded a whole slew of us patients, divorced her husband, and moved her father upstate. What therapist does that? She started over. Yeah, they're everywhere, guys. They're everywhere. Okay, just Queenie, 1 year, no contacts. All right. Congratulations. You're welcome, Misty. Miss Cheryl says, hard when you work to distance yourself from them. They pull you back just to be cold towards you. Yeah. Yeah. That's why you're not supposed to take the bait. That's why you're not supposed to take the hoovers. That's why I say to maintain the no contact. It's never a good thing when they come back. It's telling the universe, I want another round. It's telling the universe, I haven't taken my lessons. It's telling the universe, I still don't value myself enough yet. That's what it is. Omar says, my wife sucked all my energy for a year until I had to shut off my good side and turn the tables for a year. And it's not shutting off your good side, it's having boundaries. Is showing self-love, Omar. It doesn't make you bad to stand up for yourself, to put your foot down, to say enough is enough. That's what human beings do for self-preservation, right? Survival of the fittest. You're going to have that natural urge to want to protect yourself, even if it's from your supposed wife, you know? She wasn't your wife. She never will be at that point if she's a narcissist. You know, it's just something that's on a paper and not in the spirit for sure. Good, Sarah. She said she deleted toxins. And, you know, healing from narcissistic abuse. You guys hear the twins? Because I'm about to go with them in a minute. Take a holistic approach here. Like, really take inventory on yourself on every level, you know. I always highly recommend all of you guys sage. And if you don't know what that is, go watch my spiritually cleansing video. You know, sage anywhere that you've been with that narcissist. If they've been in your car, if they've been in your home, sage every corner of it. Leave a crack of that window open. Let the negative energy out, guys. I highly recommend the saging. You know, meditating to white candles, I recommend. You know, staying prayerful, definitely. Taking spiritually cleansing baths, you know, with lemons. I do use Florida water when I mop in my home, when I get new things. Wherever that narcissist has been, I'm telling you, it really is a spiritual attack. And then, you know, just making sure that you're sleeping good, staying hydrated, eating well. All of that stuff works together. And for those of you who are having depression, exercise, you know, helps you release those endorphins to help fight against depression as well. So really taking that holistic approach to the healing process, not just mentally working on yourself, but making sure, you know, your diet is good, your hydration and sleep and everything. I'm into essential oils. I use essential oil diffusers. Like I use all types of things, honestly. That's good, Sarah. Right, never go back. You will regret it every time. That's good, Katrina. Yeah. Life doesn't have to be complicated. Probin says keep your life simple. Right. Yeah. Stress makes you lose hair, Heather Headley. All right, guys. But, you know, I just wanted to make this video. We done talked about a whole bunch of stuff. But just to, you know, I just want to really stop that. And I know it's a little phase that most of us go through where we're just overly concerned about the narcissist and that new supply or the person that they moved on to. But, you know, hopefully you guys are taking some notes about having a bigger picture of things and stop looking at things one dimensionally and, you know, small minded, honestly, very small minded and fleshful on top of that. When we're looking at, oh, this person is, oh, she's ugly or she doesn't even have a good job or and what I'm telling you is it's all mental. They're vibrating psychologically together and that's why they're together. That's why you could see the narcissistic guy go with all different kind of women. They have no type of commonality, but in their mentalities were alike at some point. Even if it's an old one that has graduated, yes, but the mentalities were alike in some shape, form, or fashion, and that allowed the narcissist to come in, not only come in, but fester, you know. And this is for people who end up staying for some time, all right? But it's nothing to be jealous of, guys. Nothing to be jealous of. Nothing to feel bitter about. Now it's their, this is their cycle. It's their season starting with this. And then oftentimes, they've been in the background. But how you get them is typically how you lose them. And that is so true when it comes to narcissists. So true. I can vouch for that. How you get them is how you lose them. It's just a matter of when for them. It's only a matter of when. So let's stop being, having these conflicted feelings and step into our logic and understand what's really going on here. All right. And if our emotions still haven't caught up, we'll know that's what it is too. But our logic, lean on your logic for everything. When they start trying to hoover anything, lean on your logic. No, don't hate yourself. It's just you were probably just having the wrong perception. If you're perceiving things one way, it can keep you stuck on that train of thought. You perceive it that way, you have a shift. That's all that is. All right. So I really want to thank you guys for stopping in and showing me so much love and support. As always, I try to ask everyone to hit that like button. It helps YouTube algorithm push the content out, okay, if you think there's helpful information that needs to be shared. All right. There's lots of videos here on my channel. Any topic you could pretty much think about, there's a video for it. You just got to find it. There's a lot of playlists here to help you find topics, guys, so you can take advantage of that. I do offer one-on-one coaching. I do voice calls. I do FaceTimes. I do Skypes. I do email coaching, guys. You can book that on my site, BahiyyahConversations.com. That link is below all my videos. Or some people just email me or hit me up on social media. Those ways are fine as well. All right. There's a support group on Facebook. That link is below most of the videos for any of you who want to join that. It's for survivors of narcissistic abuse. I do put a daily thread up where you can vent and, connect with other survivors, or just share information or encourage one another, all types of stuff. All right. So if you're interested in that, just shoot me an inbox over on Facebook. Other than that, guys, I'm going to say what I say at the end of all of my videos, which is never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work. And until next time, guys, please take care.